The hardest part of this review is really conveying how good it is, but at the same time pointing out how it still has flaws. As of yet, I've not found the perfect camera. Would I buy this camera again or suggest it to a friend? Yes. With some caveats. My first Fuji camera was late 90s, when I purchased the DS300 with 1.3 megapixel CCD, and it cost more than the car I had at the time. Already a huge fan of Fujifilm due to the superior color, that first digital camera demonstrated that Fuji was still the brand to go with for vivid color. This new camera keeps with the tradition, as the first test pictures I took demonstrated brilliant blues and greens. That is what I expected from Fuji. The learning curve was a little steep, as I'm used to my Nikon DSLR and I've been shooting video with GoPros and an inexpensive no-name 4K camera. The thought of being able to replace all that with a camera jack of all trades is compelling as I venture into doing videos for online training. The automatic modes to get going quickly all seem to work fairly well, which I appreciate since I'm really not into all manual shooting as I'm no artist. The zoom is limited, so long-term living with this camera will certainly mean adding a different and likely very expensive lens to the kit. The LCD is excellent, as is the viewfinder. When placing the camera in the bag, the ability to flip the panel to protect it is a nice feature. The body is all plastic and unfortunately looks and feels way cheaper than a camera this price range should be. Controls are odd, but one can adapt to it, and it give Fuji a solid C on controls. Fuji claims low light performance, and I may be premature on my criticisms, as I need to experiment with the camera more, but am just not getting the low light performance I thought I should see from this camera. With every major change in equipment, I've had to experiment and practice to get consistent, and this camera seems to be taking me just a little longer, but this camera is also much more sophisticated than earlier generations of cameras. Video performance seems really good. There is a lot that this camera can do, from stabilization techniques to high frame rates, and it all works really well. The audio is the shocker. Why is it no better than my $199 point-and-shoot pocket camera? My external microphone didn't seem to make a difference, either. I tried a Rode amplified shotgun on the shoe and also tried a lavalier wireless setup, and both had mediocre performance at best. I was able to remove some of the issues in post-production, but I'd rather be able to just do a couple quick edits and slap it online. Cleaning it all up in post or having to use my external digital audio recorder and then reassembling it all just doesn't appeal to me. Maybe with more practice and tweaking, things will fall into place. It's difficult to summarize this camera. The shortcomings are there, but I think as I get more time with it my needs will be met. The audio issue is my biggest complaint, followed by the lack of available lenses to make this more versatile. My major complaint was that the interface is not very intuitive. I got frustrated and set it down. But my girlfriend picked it up and was shooting incredible pics after a weekend of playing around with it and watching YouTube videos. So much for my expertise. My takeaway is that this is an excellent little camera for many. Having Canon products, I was pigeonholed into getting stuck figuring out the interface. But my girlfriend, starting from scratch, just took off and embraced it. It really boils down to comfort level and what you are looking for. The technical results are really very beautiful. I was a bit thrown when I saw the quality of her images, a beginner. So in the right hands this machine can deliver. The last Fuji Digicam I bought was 2 or 3 MP, in their Fine Pix line. It might have been their Fine Pix line at that time. After that I've bought nothing but Canon ELPH's G series and lower-end DSLRs. I use pocketable Canon cameras every day on the job in places where a cell phone camera just won't work due to lighting. Outside of work I favor pocketable cameras when I need more flash than a cell, but often go with a G series and leaf peeping jacket weather or when I need to carry a pack. Sometimes I take a DSLR when the destination has a nice view or for holiday portraits. That may be guilt though. The DSLR and accoutrements are so expensive that I think that I should use it more, but it's so heavy and clumsy to take that I don't want it very often at all. I've always thought one of the smaller body mirrorless cameras might fit my needs, especially with a pancake prime, but I never thought I would buy a Fuji, mostly because I'm pretty comfortable with Canon's ecosystem, lenses, and menu logic. Well, the menus are very different from Canon. Several days in, I'm starting to get used to them, but I'm not seeing any really cool reasons for making them this way or redeeming qualities. It's just a different way of organizing things. The menu structure and strange control ergonomics are definitely the biggest nits to pick. Control ergonomics are pretty subjective, and a difficult problem for a small body camera with lots of controls. If you're a viewfinder shooter, the controls just aren't reachable with your eye up to the EVF, but you will maybe like the ability to put the back screen completely away. If you're an arm's length shooter and like using the touchscreen, you'll probably like this camera. The touchscreen controls are customizable and pretty impressive. There's really zero learning curve. It's a bright spot for this camera. If you look at the viewfinder and physical controls as something to grow into when you know what you want and need some speed, you may learn to love this camera. For a person who wants to be quick and efficient, using dials, buttons, and knobs to quickly adjust settings in a dynamic environment, using the EVF sometimes and the screen sometimes, that's me. This camera and its goofy controls and ergonomics is pretty distracting even after several days of TR. It does take good pictures, but setting up for the shot that I want is still a bit painful and sometimes takes longer than I have. I'm sure I'd be happier with a Canon. Some random things, good and bad. The RH grip is pretty good even if you have man hands, but it emphasizes that the ergonomics are better for those with smaller paws. The back of the camera grip surfaces are hard slick, but textured, plastic. There's no room for a thumb thing on the back where I would want it. The kit lens is a good, versatile robo-zoom lens. It's pretty loud though and not really fast enough to be versatile indoors in my opinion. This might be the worst included neck strap I've seen for a long time. Click link in description for more reviews.